Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a folk tale first compiled and published in 1812 by the German brothers Grimm. It tells the adventures of a princess who is sent to the forest to be killed because she is more beautiful than her wicked and jealous stepmother, and who begins to live with the dwarfs in the forest. It has been adapted into numerous theater and film productions. In the Disney version, the evil stepmother sends Snow White into the forest. Snow White then starts living with the seven dwarfs. Snow White bites the poisoned apple given to her by her stepmother, who is actually a witch, and dies. Then a prince comes, kisses Snow White, and they live happily ever after. This is the Disney version we know. But what about the original story? Detailed aspects of the original story. 1. The huntsman's deception. Tasked to kill. The evil queen orders the huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. He is supposed to bring back her heart as proof of her death. Act of mercy. Instead of killing Snow White, the huntsman is moved by her pleas for mercy and lets her go. He kills a wild boar and takes its heart back to the queen, deceiving her into believing Snow White is dead. 2. Living with the dwarfs. Discovery of the cottage. Snow White, after being abandoned in the forest, discovers a small cottage belonging to seven dwarfs. She enters, eats some of their food, and falls asleep on one of their beds. The dwarfs' decision. When the dwarfs return home and find Snow White, they are initially startled. However, they decide to let her stay in exchange for her help with household chores. 3. The queen's disguises and attempts. First attempt corset. The queen disguises herself as an old peddler woman and offers Snow White a lace bodice. She tightens it so much that Snow White collapses, unable to breathe. The dwarfs return just in time to cut the laces and save her. Second attempt comb. The queen tries again, this time offering a poisoned comb. When Snow White uses it, she falls unconscious. The dwarfs remove the comb and revive her. Third attempt apple. The queen's final attempt involves a poisoned apple. She disguises herself as a farmer's wife and offers the apple to Snow White. Only one side of the apple is poisoned, so she takes a bite from the safe side to convince Snow White it is harmless. Snow White bites the poisoned side and falls into a death-like sleep. For the glass coffin. Snow White's apparent death. Believing Snow White is dead, the dwarfs place her in a glass coffin, which they keep in the forest. She remains there for a long time, not decomposing due to her beauty. 5. The prince's intervention. Discovery and request. A prince traveling through the forest sees Snow White in the glass coffin and is struck by her beauty. He asks the dwarfs if he can take the coffin with him. Revival. As the coffin is being moved, the piece of poisoned apple dislodges from Snow White's throat, and she awakens. 6. The queen's punishment. Jealousy persists. The queen learns from her mirror that Snow White is alive and more beautiful than ever. She attends the wedding of Snow White and the prince. Grim fate. As punishment for her wickedness, the queen is forced to wear red-hot iron shoes and dance in them until she dies. Key differences from the Disney version. Multiple murder attempt. Unlike the single poisoning in the Disney version, the original story includes multiple attempts on Snow White's life. Grim and violent elements. The original tale includes darker elements, such as the huntsman's deception, the repeated near-death experiences of Snow White, and the brutal punishment of the queen. Method of revival. in the original story. Snow White is revived not by a kiss but by the accidental dislodging of the poisoned apple. These elements highlight the more sinister and complex nature of the original fairy tale compared to the more sanitized and romanticized Disney adaptation.